When early this year the new Leica M10 Monochrom hit the market, I was one of the first to test its sensitivity to light because these black and white sensors are supposed to have excellent light capturing properties. And I was posting on my channel a video where I basically simulated low light shooting situations and showing how nicely that newly developed 40 megapixel black and white sensor was capable of capturing light in low light situations with high clarity and low noise. In this video I'm taking it to the next level. I will take out the Leica M10 Monochrom to a lake close to Zurich, and it will be surrounded by mountains. It will be pitch black, dark night for reasons I'm going to explain in a moment, and I'll try to shoot the Milky Way and see if that little rangefinder camera with this 40 megapixel black and white sensor is also capable to be a suitable astrophotography camera for night sky, for Milky Way, and for things people enjoy when it gets dark and the skies are clear. Let's get started with the video. So I'm currently sitting in my backyard, that's why you hear a lot of background noise here. And what I have with me here is the Leica M10 Monochrom, and that's one of the best M-series rangefinder cameras I ever had the pleasure to shoot with. And it's a simplistic camera in a way, because the sensor only stores information about light without bothering about color. There is no color filter or Bayer filter on the sensor, which means that you have the essence of photography here. And the essence of photography is capturing light, and that's what this camera is doing, nothing else. The 40 megapixels actually compare in the visual impression to about 120 megapixels because you can multiply this by 3 as a rule of thumb, and I pointed this out in the video where you find the link down in the info box, so I linked this up here. And what I also showed in another video on my channel is with the headline that this M10 Monochrom can see in the dark, and I demonstrated this by having a very dimmed, very low light situation, and the camera was doing a fantastic job in terms of ISO, noise behavior, and in general being very sensitive to light. So sitting in the backyard with my M10 Mono is nothing special and not worthwhile to upload a video, but today is a special day because we have almost new moon. Tomorrow night will be new moon. That means the night sky is very dark, and most importantly the weather forecast is saying that we will have clear skies. So that's a unique opportunity to let the M10 Monochrom again prove itself, and let's see if this little rangefinder is able to catch nice pictures of the Milky Way. And I will drive out of Zurich to a little lake which is not too far away, about 50 to 60 minutes depending on traffic. And that little lake is surrounded by mountains. I think I used that spot or location once for a video I posted on my channel. And I will try to catch the Milky Way and will test again the sensitivity of this black and white sensor to light. So the lens I'm using for this little shooting tonight is the Tri-Elmar. And the Tri-Elmar M here, you can see it here. Maybe I turn this by 180 degrees so you can read this. The Tri-Elmar M has 3 different focal lengths, and that's a very special lens in the Leica universe, because typically Leica has prime lenses and not lenses with zoom optionality or with the option to change focal length. But here you can shoot with 16mm, 18mm and 21mm, and I have not right now the right impression what focal length I will use. That's why I have here 3 different focal lengths in one lens. One thing is clear, it will be wide angle because 21mm is already a very wide angle shooting, but I can go actually and make this much wider, going to 16mm, and that's, I think, a good feature to have in my pocket when I'm out there at the lake. And there are constraints coming with it. Very often wide angle lenses don't have a wide open aperture as some prime lenses with 35 or 50mm or maybe 85mm. This one here has a widest open aperture of f4. That means I'm constrained, and clearly if I would use the 50mm Noctilux with 0.95, I could turn my ISO values down and still catch a very good amount of light, and hopefully also from the Milky Way and the stars in the night sky. Here I'm constrained to f4, but that's okay, I guess, because we have this fantastic ISO behavior of this camera here, and in general a low noise behavior of that sensor. So let me now quickly explain the setup of the camera. I already said I'm going to shoot in bulb mode, means I have the exposure time I use between 2 times pressing and releasing the shutter button here. I will be on the aperture constrained to f4, That's also the aperture I'm going to shoot with. It's the widest open one on the Tri-LMR lens. And on the menu of the camera, let me just quickly get the camera on. And let me adjust my filming camera here. So I will be in, let's go into the menu. I will be in drive mode on self timer 2 seconds, because that's, I think, the right thing to do on the tripod. I will be in bulb. It's also saying here bulb. I will start with 16mm focal length. I will shoot, of course, in JPEG and RAW and spot metering. And I will have very likely an ISO of 6400, because based on my experience with the M10 Mono, the noise behavior will be very good even at an ISO of 6400, and that just catches more light. So that's my setup for the camera. And now the last thing we need to do is we need to check the time when the galactic core and the Milky Way is visible, just at the peak of the mountains, to get a nice shooting situation here. When I plan for a night sky or Milky Way shooting, I use apps available on iOS, so on the iPad or the iPhone. What you see here in front of you on that screenshot is an app called Photopills, and there is one section called the Planner, and it gives you all the crucial information you need to plan for your shooting. So explaining Photopills is likely a video for itself, and I'm not planning to do a tutorial here, but you have basically two things you need to take into account. First of all, what's the moon phase? I already mentioned we are close to new moon. That means the moon doesn't play a crucial factor here. And the second is, when does the Milky Way appear on a certain location at a certain time? So let's quickly look at the location first. It's one of those bridges over the lake. You see the pin in the location, and that's my shooting location, which I can specify in Photopills. And the second information, which is absolutely crucial, is the visibility of GC, and GC stands for galactic core. And you see here, this is from close before midnight up to, let's say, close before 3 AM. And you get all the information here you need about the appearance and the visibility of the most interesting parts of the Milky Way. And besides the many other interesting and useful information you get in this app, you can also adjust your shooting time by using the timeline at the bottom of the screen and going forth and back in time and testing then how these little white dots on the map actually change, which gives you information when the most interesting parts of the Milky Way will appear just at the peak of the mountains where you point your camera towards. And that's the information I used to choose my location, choose the timing, and then going for the shooting. And now let's have a look at the results. I hope you find them as impressive as I do. And let's quickly look into Lightroom and at the final image. So this is the raw file coming out of that shooting in Lightroom. And you clearly see, to some extent at the horizon, the structure of the Milky Way already in the sky. But the good thing about shooting in RAW is that these sensors typically capture much more information, which you can activate and enhance by doing the right steps in post-processing. But before we look into that, let's quickly have a look at the metadata. So if you look at the metadata, the first thing is the large resolution, which people know because it's a 40 megapixel black and white sensor. Exposure time was 25 seconds. I had to use the bulb mode for this, and I did not use a cable release because if it is that much pitch black dark outside, the last release of the shutter button will not destroy the image by vibrations or shakes. It's the 16mm focal length which brought me the best angle I wanted to have. And the ISO value I used was an ISO of 6400, which is just fine for the Leica M10 Monochrom because of its low noise behavior. You see also again the name of the lens I used, the Tri-LMR M, with these 3 focal lengths, which are introduced at the beginning of the video. And the aperture was open to f4.0, which is the widest open aperture on that 3 focal length lens from Leica. So now here's the final result after post-processing that raw image coming from that Leica M10 Monochrom 40 megapixel black and white sensor, and it is a beautiful image. It didn't need a lot of tweaking in Lightroom, no over-exaggeration on all those sliders you can push, but it shows nicely that the most interesting part of the Milky Way here was just on top of the mountain as I planned for, and the image is beautiful. You can print it in large size, and it's always such a fantastic experience Being out in nature, having a clear night sky above you, and enjoying those moments where it is completely silent after midnight, no one else is around, just you, the night sky, and the mountains and the lake. And I enjoy these experiences a lot. They help me to contemplate and come down from a stressful week. And it is proof of evidence that the Leica M10 Monochrom is very, very well capable of shooting the night sky and the Milky Way. It's actually beautiful to have astrophotography in black and white. Of course, it eliminates the colorful elements of nebula and this, let's say, reddish or purple glow you sometimes have in Milky Way shootings. But it is a very nice image because it is silent, it is calm at the same time. It makes you being amazed about the wonders of nature. Now, in the same location, I also did a shooting at this night with my Nikon C7 and the Nikon Noct f0.95. And since the focal length of the Nikon Noct is 58 millimeters, it gave me a completely different, much narrower perspective in the image. But here, of course, I captured all the colors of the Milky Way, and it's a beautiful picture. I will make a separate video on that one. Stay tuned on my channel. Best way is to subscribe so you will be notified if you also quickly touch on the bell, and then you will be notified when that video is out. And I think the Nikon Noct really is made for the night. That's why its name is Noct, which basically stands for night. And of course, it's also a wonderful experience to capture the colors of the night sky. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Thanks for watching and peace out.